Chapter 1. The Countdown. David Kraft had never been a fan of New Year's Eve parties. Too much noise, too many people pretending champagne was magic, and far too many resolutions that would die by February. But Bella loved them. Loved the glitter, the laughter, the sense of possibility that came with a ticking clock. And David loved Bella. That was reason enough to show up at her apartment tonight, even if he'd rather be home in sweatpants watching reruns. He adjusted the collar of his navy button-down as he stepped into Bella's apartment. Warm light spilled across the hardwood floors, and the scent of cinnamon and something sweet drifted from the kitchen. Bella was in the center of it all, laughing as she arranged a tray of hors d'oeuvres like a contestant on a cooking show. David! Her voice cut through the chatter, bright and familiar. She crossed the room in 3 quick steps, her sequin dress catching the light like a disco ball. "You made it! Wouldn't miss it," he said, leaning down to kiss her cheek. Her perfume, soft, floral, wrapped around him like a memory he didn't want to lose. She smiled, eyes crinkling at the corners. "Good. Because this party is going to be epic." David glanced around. People were everywhere, on the couch by the kitchen island, clustered near the balcony doors. He recognized a few faces from Bella's office, but most were strangers. He nodded politely as Bella tugged him toward the living room. "Come on, I want you to meet everyone," she said, her hand warm in his. Introductions blurred together, names, handshakes, jokes about resolutions. David smiled, laughed in the right places, and tried not to think about how much he hated small talk. Bella was radiant, moving through the crowd like she owned the night. He admired that about her, how she could make any room feel like home. It wasn't until an hour later, drink in hand, that David noticed him. The guy sitting on the couch next to Bella, arm draped casually along the backrest. Tall, athletic build, easy grin. The kind of guy who looked like he belonged in a college brochure. David slowed his steps, catching snippets of conversation. "Remember that road trip to Nashville?" the guy said, laughing. "We got lost for 6 hours because you swore you didn't need a map." Bella laughed, head tipping back. "Oh my God, yes. And we ended up at that diner with the world's worst coffee." The group roared with laughter. David's smile tightened. He didn't know this guy. He didn't know the story. And then he heard it, the word that made his stomach dip. "Man, those were the best dates," the guy said, grinning at Bella. "You were wild back then." "Dates." David froze, his back to them now, pretending to scan the room. "Dates. So this wasn't just a friend. This was an ex. College ex, judging by the nostalgia dripping from every word." David took a slow sip of his drink, listening as they traded stories, late-night adventures, concerts, inside jokes that belonged to another life. He told himself it didn't matter. Bella had a past. Everyone did. He wasn't jealous. He wasn't possessive. He was a realist. Relationships took work, and trust was the foundation. He believed that, but then he glanced back and saw it. The guy's arm, draped over Bella's shoulder like it belonged there. Bella didn't flinch, didn't move away. She just sat there, laughing, comfortable. David's chest tightened. Not anger. He'd learned long ago that anger was just fear in disguise. No, this was clarity. A quiet, cold clarity that whispered, "When people show you who they are, believe them." He set his drink on the kitchen counter, the glass clinking softly against marble. For a moment, he watched Bella from across the room, her smile, her ease, the way she leaned into the past like it was harmless. Maybe it was. Maybe he was overthinking. But he knew one thing. He didn't want to spend his life questioning whether the person he loved respected the boundaries that mattered to him. Without a word, David slipped into the hallway, retrieved his coat from the bedroom, and headed for the door. No scene. No drama. Just quiet steps and a final glance at Bella, still laughing in the arms of someone who used to matter. The night air hit him like a slap, cold, sharp, honest. He walked to his car, started the engine, and drove away, the sound of laughter fading behind him. Bella didn't notice at first. Midnight was creeping closer, and the party was in full swing. Music thumping, glasses clinking, voices rising in countdown anticipation. She was telling a story about her disastrous attempt at baking in college when something tugged at her thoughts. Where was David? She scanned the room, expecting to see his familiar smile near the kitchen or chatting with her coworkers. Nothing. She excused herself, weaving through the crowd, checking the kitchen. Just a couple of friends debating craft beer. Bathroom? Empty. Bedroom? Empty. Her pulse quickened. She returned to the living room, eyes darting. "Hey," she said to a friend, forcing a smile. "Have you seen David?" Last I saw, he was in the kitchen," the friend said, shrugging. "Maybe he stepped out?" Bella's stomach dropped. She grabbed her phone, dialing his number. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. Frustration bubbled up, sharp and hot. David never ignored her calls. Never. She slipped outside, the cold biting through her thin dress, and scanned the parking lot. His car was gone. Bella stood there, breath fogging in the winter air, party noise muffled behind her. Her fingers tightened around her phone as a single thought echoed in her mind. "Where are you, David? And why did you leave?" David drove in silence, city lights blurring past. He wanted to believe it was innocent, that Bella loved him, that the arm around her shoulder meant nothing. But the image burned in his mind, stubborn and cruel. He imagined how she would feel if the roles were reversed. Not that he would ever put someone he loved in that position. That was the problem. He wasn't angry. He wasn't jealous. He was tired of wondering if love meant compromise or self-erasure. His feelings were valid, and he wouldn't play games with them. Tonight, the clock would strike midnight without him. And maybe that was the point. Chapter 2. Radio silence. Bella Towns was not the panicking type. She was the make-a-list and fix-it type. But as she stood in her apartment doorway, cold air biting her bare arms, staring at the empty parking space where David's car should have been, panic was winning by a landslide. She dialed his number again, straight to voicemail. She tried texting. Bella, where are you? Are you okay? No response. Inside, the party was still alive. Music thumping, laughter spilling like champagne bubbles. Bella stepped back in, forcing a smile as someone handed her a sparkler. She waved it half-heartedly, then slipped into the kitchen, phone clutched like a lifeline. Her best friend, Marcy, was perched on the counter, sipping wine like it was oxygen. You look like someone just told you carbs were illegal, Marcy said, raising an eyebrow. David's gone, Bella whispered. Marcy blinked. Gone as in bathroom gone? Or gone as in poof? Poof, Bella said, gesturing toward the door. His car's not here. He's not answering his phone. Marcy frowned. Maybe he went to get snacks? Bella stared. At 11:30? During a party with enough food to feed a small army. Marcy shrugged. Men do weird things when they're hungry. Bella groaned, pressing her forehead against the fridge. Something's wrong. Okay. Marcy hopped down, heels clicking against tile. Let's think. Did you two fight? No, Bella said quickly. We were fine. He was laughing, talking to people. I thought he was having a good time. Marcy tilted her head. You thought? Bella hesitated. I might have been busy. Hosting. Marcy gave her a look. Busy hosting or busy reminiscing with your college crew? Bella's stomach flipped. You think that's why? Marcy raised her hands. Hey, I'm just saying, guys can be sensitive about exes. Bella's pulse spiked. She thought back to the couch, the laughter, the stories. And oh God, the arm. She hadn't even noticed it at the time. Had David? She grabbed her phone again, typing furiously. Bella, please call me. I don't know what happened, but I want to fix it. Still nothing. Meanwhile, David was sitting in his apartment, coat still on, staring at the dark screen of his phone. It buzzed once, twice, then fell silent. He didn't pick it up. Not yet. He wasn't ignoring Bella out of spite. He just needed space. Needed to sort through the knot in his chest before words tangled into something ugly. He'd promised himself years ago. No shouting matches, no impulsive texts, no emotional grenades. Calm was his rule. Calm kept him sane. But calm didn't stop the questions. Was he overreacting? Was an arm around the shoulder harmless nostalgia or a flashing neon sign that said boundaries optional? He didn't know. What he did know was how it made him feel, like a guest in his own relationship. He leaned back on the couch, exhaling slowly. He wasn't angry. He wasn't jealous. He was tired. Tired of wondering if love meant swallowing discomfort to keep the peace. Back at the party, Bella was unraveling. Midnight was minutes away, and she was supposed to be clinking glasses and shouting Happy New Year. Instead, she was pacing her bedroom, phone in hand, while Marcy sat cross-legged on the bed like a therapist who charged in wine. Okay, Marcy said. Worst case scenario, he's mad. Bella stopped pacing. Mad at what? Marcy gave her a look. Bella, you were basically starring in a rom-com flashback with your ex. If I were David, I'd be, let's say, concerned. Bella sank onto the bed, head in her hands. It wasn't like that. It was just stories. Stories with an arm accessory, Marcy said dryly. Bella groaned. I didn't even notice. Exactly, Marcy said. You didn't notice, but he probably did. Bella's phone buzzed. Her heart leapt, then crashed. It was a friend sending a selfie with the caption, "Best party ever." Bella tossed the phone aside. I need to talk to him. Not tonight, Marcy said gently. Give him space. Bella shook her head. No. If he thinks I disrespected him, I need to fix it now. Marcy sighed. You're going to drive over there, aren't you? Bella grabbed her coat. Yep. The streets were quiet, snow dusting the sidewalks like powdered sugar. Bella gripped the steering wheel, rehearsing words in her head. David, I didn't mean anything by it. You matter to me, more than anyone. She hated that he was hurting if he was hurting. She hated not knowing. When she pulled up to his building, the clock on her dashboard read 12:07. Fireworks popped in the distance, bright bursts against the night sky. Bella climbed the stairs two at a time, heart pounding. She knocked. No answer. Knocked again, harder. Finally, the door opened. David stood there, expression calm but unreadable, like a man who'd spent the last hour building walls brick by brick. Bella swallowed hard. Can we talk? Chapter 3. The knock at midnight. David opened the door slowly, as if bracing for a storm. Bella stood there, cheeks flushed from the cold, sequin dress dulled under the hallway light. Her hair was slightly windblown, and her eyes, those warm, steady eyes, were wide with something between fear and determination. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice soft but urgent. David stepped aside. "Come in." Bella entered, the warmth of his apartment wrapping around her like a reluctant hug. It smelled faintly of coffee and cedar, David's scent, familiar and grounding. She turned to face him, clutching her coat like armor. "Why did you leave?" she asked, skipping pleasantries. "I've been calling you." David's gaze was calm, almost too calm. "I needed space." "Space." Bella's voice cracked. "David, you just disappeared. No goodbye, no text, nothing. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" "I'm sorry," he said evenly. "I didn't want to make a scene." Bella blinked. "A scene? What are you talking about?" David studied her for a long moment, then spoke quietly. "Bella, do you know what I saw tonight?" She frowned. What do you mean?" "I saw you," he said, his tone steady but edged with something sharp. "Laughing with your friends. That's fine. I love that you have history. But then I saw his arm around you." Bella's breath caught. Realization hit like a slap. "David, that wasn't what?" His voice didn't rise, but the weight of it pressed against her chest. "Wasn't disrespectful? Wasn't crossing a line?" Bella stepped closer, hands trembling. "It wasn't like that. We were just reminiscing. It meant nothing." David's jaw tightened. "Maybe to you, but to me, it meant something. It meant I was standing 10 feet away while the woman I've been with for 2 years sat with another man's arm around her like it belonged there." Bella flinched. "David, I didn't even notice." "That's the problem," he said softly. "You didn't notice." Silence stretched between them, heavy and brittle. Bella swallowed hard, searching for words that didn't sound like excuses. "I love you," she said finally, voice breaking. "You know that, right?" David's eyes softened, but his posture stayed rigid. "I want to believe that." "Then believe it," Bella pleaded. "Don't throw this away over something that wasn't even intentional." David exhaled slowly, running a hand through his hair. "Bella, this isn't about jealousy. It's about respect. About boundaries. I've had enough heartbreak to know what I can and can't live with. And I can't live with wondering if the person I love sees me the way I see them." Bella's throat tightened. "So what now? Are you saying we're done?" David looked at her, really looked at her, and for a moment, the calm cracked. "I don't know," he admitted. "I just know I need time to think." Bella's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Midnight fireworks exploded in the distance, muffled through the walls, a cruel reminder that the world was celebrating while hers was unraveling. She nodded slowly, swallowing the ache in her chest. "Okay," she whispered. "Take your time." David opened the door again, and Bella stepped out into the cold, her heart heavier than the winter air. She didn't look back. Not because she didn't want to, but because she was afraid if she did, she'd break. David closed the door, leaning against it as the silence swallowed him whole. He hated this, hated the hollow feeling gnawing at his ribs, but he couldn't ignore what he felt. Not anymore. He glanced at his phone, Bella's messages glowing like tiny pleas on the screen. He didn't delete them. He didn't answer them either. Not tonight. Tonight, he needed clarity. And clarity never came easy. Chapter 4. The morning after, David woke to the sound of his alarm, though he'd barely slept. The gray light of dawn seeped through the blinds, painting his apartment in muted tones. He lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, replaying last night like a movie he didn't want to watch but couldn't turn off. Bella's face at his door, her voice, trembling. "I love you. You know that, right?" He believed her. He did. But belief wasn't the same as trust, and trust wasn't something you patched up with midnight apologies. He swung his legs over the side of the bed, rubbing his temples. Monday loomed like a storm cloud, and the thought of sitting through back-to-back meetings while his personal life dangled over a cliff made him want to crawl back under the covers. Instead, he showered, dressed, and grabbed a coffee so strong it could wake the dead. Bella, meanwhile, was staring at her phone like it held the secrets of the universe. Her apartment looked like a battlefield. Half-empty glasses, confetti on the floor, a lone balloon bobbing near the ceiling like it was mocking her. She hadn't slept either. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw David's expression. Calm, controlled, but distant. That distance scared her more than anger ever could. Marcy was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through her phone with the energy of someone who'd slept like a baby. "So," she said, not looking up, "did you two talk?" Bella groaned, burying her face in her hands. "If you call me begging him not to break up with me talking, then sure." Marcy whistled low. "Yikes. How bad?" Bella lifted her head, hair a tangled mess. "He said he needs time to think." Marcy set her phone down, eyes narrowing. "Time to think? That's like the prelude to a breakup ballad." Bella shot her a look. "You're not helping." Marcy held up her hands. Okay. Let's strategize. What's the plan? Bella sighed, staring at her phone screen. No new messages. I texted him last night. Nothing. Should I call? Marcy shook her head. Nope. Give him space. Men love space. It makes them feel like astronauts. Bella groaned again. I hate space. Then distract yourself, Marcy said, hopping up. Clean up this disaster zone. Or binge watch something. Or, I don't know, write a strongly worded letter to the guy who invented nostalgia. Bella managed a weak laugh. I don't get it. It was innocent. Marcy shrugged. Maybe to you, but to him? It probably felt like a rom-com flashback with bonus arm accessory. Bella winced. Don't remind me. At the office, David sat at his desk, staring at his inbox like it had personally offended him. His coworker, Greg, strolled by with a grin that was far too cheerful for a Monday. Happy New Year, man, Greg said, slapping David on the shoulder. How was the party? David forced a smile. Eventful. Greg chuckled. Eventful good or eventful bad? David hesitated. Depends on your definition of bad. Greg raised an eyebrow. Oh, trouble in paradise. David didn't answer. He wasn't about to unpack his relationship drama in the middle of an open-plan office. Instead, he muttered something about deadlines and buried himself in spreadsheets, though the numbers blurred like watercolors. By noon, Bella couldn't take it anymore. She typed a message, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, she settled on something simple. Bella, can we meet for coffee later? I just want to talk. Please. She stared at the screen, thumb hovering over send. Then she hit it, heart pounding like a drum. Minutes passed. Then her phone buzzed. David, okay. After work, 6 p.m.? Bella exhaled so hard she nearly deflated. Relief washed over her, tangled with nerves. Coffee wasn't a guarantee. Coffee was coffee. But it was something. She texted back, 6 p.m. I'll be there. David set his phone down, staring at the message like it was a challenge. Coffee. Neutral ground. Public setting. Less chance of emotional grenades. He could do that. He needed to do that. But as he turned back to his computer, one thought lingered like a shadow. What if coffee changes nothing? Chapter 5. Coffee and Confessions. The cafe was warm and humming with quiet chatter, the kind of place where people came to write novels or pretend they were writing novels. Bella arrived first, sliding into a corner booth with a view of the door. Her hands wrapped around a latte she didn't remember ordering. Marcy had insisted on coming with her, for moral support, and then bailed at the last second with a text that read, "You got this, babe. Channel your inner rom-com heroine." Bella wasn't feeling very rom-com. She was feeling like a woman about to take a pop quiz on a subject she thought she'd mastered. David. When he walked in, her breath caught. He looked tired. Not messy, not angry, just tired, like someone who'd been carrying a weight too heavy for too long. His navy coat was dusted with snow, his hair slightly mussed from the wind. He spotted her, hesitated for a beat, then crossed the room. "Hey," he said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Hey," she echoed, voice softer than she intended. A beat of silence stretched between them, filled only by the hiss of the espresso machine and the distant clink of cups. Bella forced a smile. "Thanks for meeting me." David nodded. "Figured it was better than texting." "Definitely," Bella said quickly. "Texting is terrible for tone." David's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Yeah." Another pause. Bella wanted to scream at the awkwardness, but instead she took a breath and dove in. "David, about last night." "Bella," he said gently, cutting her off. "I'm not here to fight." "I'm not either," she said, leaning forward. I need you to understand. That thing with Ryan." "Ryan?" David's brow furrowed. "The guy on the couch," Bella clarified. "College ex." "Yes, but that's all he is, an ex-ancient history. We were just reminiscing. It wasn't flirting. It wasn't anything." David studied her, his expression unreadable. "You didn't notice his arm?" Bella winced. "No, I swear I didn't. If I had, I would have moved. I wasn't trying to disrespect you." David nodded slowly, fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup. "I believe you." Bella blinked. "You do?" "Yeah," he said. "But that doesn't erase how it felt." Bella's chest tightened. "I get that. I do. And I'm sorry. I should have been more aware." David sighed, leaning back. "Bella, this isn't about jealousy. It's about patterns. I've been in relationships where boundaries were optional, where respect was negotiable. I promised myself I wouldn't do that again." Bella's throat burned. "Are you saying I'm like that?" "No," David said quickly. "You're not. You're amazing. That's why this matters. Care about you. I care enough to be honest when something feels wrong." Bella swallowed hard, tears pricking her eyes. "I care about you too, more than anyone. And I don't want you questioning that." David's gaze softened. "Then help me not question it." Bella nodded, gripping her cup like it could anchor her. "Okay, tell me what you need." David hesitated, then spoke quietly. "I need to feel like I'm your person, not just one of many people who make you laugh." Bella reached across the table, fingers brushing his. You are. You've always been. For the first time that day, David smiled. A small, tired smile, but real. Then maybe we can figure this out. Bella exhaled, relief flooding her chest. I want to. Me too, David said. But I'm still cautious. Bella managed a shaky laugh. You've been cautious since day one. David's smile widened. True. They sat there for a moment, hands touching, the tension easing like steam from a kettle. Outside, snow fell in lazy spirals, muffling the city in quiet grace. Bella squeezed his hand. So, where do we go from here? David looked at her, eyes steady. We start by talking, really talking, about what we want, about what matters. Bella nodded. Okay, talking I can do. David chuckled softly. Good, because I have a feeling this is going to take more than one cup of coffee. Bella grinned, hope flickering like a candle. Then let's order another. Chapter 6. The apartment question. Bella had always believed coffee could fix anything. Heartbreak, bad days, existential crises. Coffee was magic in a mug. But as she sat across from David in that cozy cafe, watching him stir his second cup like it held the answers to life, she realized coffee had its limits. They talked for an hour about boundaries, about trust, about how neither of them wanted to throw away 2 years over one awkward moment. Felt good. Felt like progress. But progress had a way of opening doors to bigger questions, like the one Bella had been carrying for months. She waited until David set his spoon down, then took a breath. So, about us. David looked up, cautious but calm. What about us? Bella fiddled with her sleeve. We've been together 2 years. We've talked about maybe moving in together. David's expression didn't change, but his shoulders stiffened almost imperceptibly. Yeah, he said slowly. We've talked. Bella leaned forward, voice gentle. I still want that. Do you? David hesitated, eyes dropping to his coffee. I don't know. Bella's stomach sank. You don't know? David rubbed the back of his neck. A gesture she'd learned meant he was choosing his words carefully. Bella, last night shook me. Not because I think you don't care, but because it made me realize how much I need to feel solid before we take that step. Bella nodded, trying to keep her voice steady. I get that. I do. But living together isn't just about trust. It's about seeing if we can handle each other's quirks without killing each other. David's lips twitched. Quirks? Bella smiled faintly. You alphabetize your spice rack. David. That's not a quirk. That's a lifestyle. David chuckled, the tension easing a fraction. And you leave half-empty coffee cups in every room like it's a scavenger hunt. Bella grinned. See? We already know each other's crimes. David laughed softly, then sobered. Bella, I want to get there. I really do. But I need to feel like we're on the same page first. Bella reached across the table, fingers brushing his. Then let's get on the same page. What if we do a trial run? A weekend. You stay at my place. We see how it feels. David raised an eyebrow. A weekend? Yeah, Bella said, warming to the idea. 2 days of shared space. Cooking, cleaning, Netflix wars. If we survive, maybe we're ready. David considered this, tapping his fingers against the cup. A stress test. Bella laughed. Exactly. Relationship boot camp. David smiled, the first real smile since last night. Okay, a weekend. Bella's heart lifted like a balloon. This weekend. David chuckled. You don't waste time. Bella shrugged, eyes bright. Life's short. David nodded slowly. This weekend. Bella grinned, relief flooding her chest. Great. I'll warn my spice rack. David laughed, shaking his head. And I'll bring earplugs for the coffee cup scavenger hunt. As they left the cafe, snowflakes drifted lazily from the sky, settling on coats and hair like tiny blessings. Bella felt lighter, hopeful. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a guarantee. But it was something, a step forward. And for now, that was enough. Chapter 7. The Weekend Experiment. David arrived at Bella's apartment Friday evening with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder and the expression of a man walking into a reality show challenge. He knocked, and Bella opened the door with a grin so bright it could power a small city. Welcome to boot camp, she said, stepping aside dramatically. David smirked. Do I get a uniform? Bella gestured toward the couch piled with throw pillows. That's your uniform. Comfort chic. He chuckled, stepping inside. The apartment smelled like vanilla and something savory. Bella's attempt at dinner, judging by the pots clanging in the kitchen. He set his bag down and scanned the space. Cozy. Warm. A little chaotic. A stack of magazines teetered on the coffee table. And yes, 3 half-empty coffee cups sat like forgotten soldiers. David raised an eyebrow. You weren't kidding. Bella followed his gaze and laughed. What? It's called ambience. It's called a caffeine graveyard, David said, picking up a cup and sniffing it. This one might be from last week. Bella snatched it away, grinning. Don't judge me. You alphabetize your spices. David shrugged. Order is peace. Bella rolled her eyes. Peace is overrated. Dinner was an adventure. Bella had planned a simple pasta dish, but somewhere between chopping garlic and answering a text from Marcy, things went sideways. The smoke alarm blared like a war horn, and David rushed in to find Bella fanning the air with a dish towel. "Everything's fine," she shouted over the alarm. "Totally fine." David grabbed the step stool, yanked the battery out, and turned to her with a grin. "So this is what living together looks like?" Bella laughed, cheeks flushed. "Only on Fridays." They ended up ordering pizza, sitting cross-legged on the floor with paper plates and a bottle of wine. It wasn't fancy, but it felt easy. For a while, the tension melted into laughter, and David found himself thinking, maybe this could work. Saturday morning brought the IKEA challenge. Bella had bought a new bookshelf for the vibe, and David, being the practical one, offered to assemble it. How hard could it be? Famous last words. 2 hours later, they were surrounded by wooden planks, screws, and an instruction manual that looked like abstract art. Bella sat cross-legged on the rug, holding a screwdriver like a weapon. "This diagram makes no sense," she declared. "Is that a shelf or a spaceship?" David squinted at the page. "It's a shelf, probably." Bella groaned. "We should have just hired someone." David smirked. "Where's the fun in that?" "Fun." Bella shot him a look. "You call this fun?" David grinned. "I call it teamwork." Bella laughed despite herself, handing him a plank. "Fine, teamwork. But if this thing collapses, I'm blaming you." By evening, the bookshelf stood, slightly crooked but standing. Bella cheered like they'd won a championship. "Look at that. We're basically domestic gods." David chuckled, wiping sweat from his brow. "Or masochists." Bella flopped onto the couch, patting the seat beside her. "Come on, admit it. You had fun." David sat down, smiling. "I did." Bella leaned her head on his shoulder, and for a moment, everything felt simple. No exes, no doubts, just two people sharing space, laughter, and the quiet hum of possibility. But later, as David brushed his teeth in Bella's bathroom, he caught sight of her college photo on the shelf. Bella, younger, grinning with her arm around Ryan. The same Ryan from the party. The image hit him like a pebble in a pond, rippling through the calm he'd built all day. He stared at it for a long moment, toothbrush in hand, before turning away. He didn't say anything. Not yet. Chapter 8. The X Factor. Sunday morning dawned crisp and bright, sunlight spilling across Bella's apartment like a promise. David was making coffee, his way, precise and methodical, while Bella scrolled through her phone on the couch, hair tousled from sleep. "2 sugars, right?" David asked, already stirring her cup. Bella smiled. "You know me." He handed her the mug, their fingers brushing briefly. It was a small thing, but it felt like progress, like the weekend experiment was working. They'd survived burnt pasta, IKEA chaos, and Netflix negotiations without bloodshed. That had to count for something. Bella sipped her coffee, sighing contentedly. "This was nice," she said. "Us together." David nodded, though his mind flickered back to the photo in her bathroom, the one with Ryan's arm around her. He pushed the thought aside. Today was about moving forward, not backward. Later, they decided to grab brunch at a cafe near the park. Bella was mid-story about Marcy's latest dating disaster when the door swung open, and in walked Ryan. Bella froze, fork halfway to her mouth. David noticed the shift instantly, his gaze following hers to the tall guy in a leather jacket scanning the room like he owned it. Ryan spotted Bella and grinned. "Bella, hey." Bella forced a smile. "Ryan, hi." David's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent, watching as Ryan approached their table with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. "Wow," Ryan said, eyes flicking to David. "Long time no see. How've you been?" "Good," Bella said quickly. "Great, actually." Ryan smirked. "Looks like it." He extended a hand toward David. "Ryan." David shook it, firm but cool. "David." Ryan's grin widened. "Ah, the famous David. Bella's mentioned you." David raised an eyebrow. "Has she?" Bella jumped in before Ryan could elaborate. "Ryan was just leaving," she said, voice tight. Ryan chuckled. "Relax, Bells. I'm not here to crash your date. Just grabbing coffee." Bella's smile was brittle. "Enjoy your coffee." Ryan actually winked before strolling to the counter. Bella exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. David stirred his coffee slowly. "So that's Ryan." Bella groaned. "I'm sorry. I didn't know he'd be here." David shrugged, tone even. "Not your fault." Bella leaned forward, eyes pleading. "David, I need you to know. I don't want him. I haven't wanted him for years." "Is that so?" asked David. "Yes, David." David met her gaze, searching for cracks, for hesitation. He found none. "Okay." Bella reached across the table, fingers curling around his. "You're it for me. No one else." David's chest loosened, the knot unraveling. He squeezed her hand gently. "Good to know. But if I find out that whatever you told Ryan about me that you nearly jumped out of your skin to interrupt was anything bad, we're done." Bella smiled, relief flooding her face. "Good. Because I would never say anything bad about you or us. Now can we please talk about something else? Like how Marcy matched with a guy who thinks crypto is a personality trait." David chuckled, tension melting into laughter. "That sounds terrifying." Ryan left without another word, and Bella didn't glance his way again. For David, that mattered more than anything. The way she stayed present, anchored to him like the rest of the room didn't exist. As they walked out hand in hand, David realized something. Trust wasn't about erasing doubt. It was about choosing to believe, even when doubt whispered. And today, he chose Bella. Chapter 9. The honest hour. The apartment was quiet, save for the soft hum of the heater and the distant city sounds filtering through the windows. Bella sat cross-legged on the couch, a blanket draped over her lap, watching David pace like a man rehearsing a speech he didn't want to give. She'd invited him over after brunch. Sensing that the air between them still held unspoken words, he'd agreed hesitantly, but now he looked like someone standing at the edge of a cliff, debating the jump. "David," Bella said gently, breaking the silence. "Talk to me." He stopped, hands shoved into his pockets, eyes fixed on the floor. "I'm trying." Bella waited, patient but aching. She'd never seen him like this, so guarded, so heavy. It scared her more than last night's silence. Finally, he sat down beside her, elbows on his knees, staring at his hands. "You know why I'm cautious," he said quietly. "But I don't think you know the whole story." Bella's heart thudded. "Then tell me." David exhaled slowly, as if releasing years of weight. "I've been in love before, twice. Both times I thought I'd found forever. Both times I was wrong." Bella listened, breath held. "The first," David continued, voice low, "cheated on me. Said it was a mistake. Said she loved me. I believed her until it happened again." Bella's chest tightened. She reached for his hand, but he didn't move. "The second didn't cheat," he said, eyes distant. "She just left. No warning. No explanation. One day we were planning a trip, the next she was gone. I spent months wondering what I did wrong." Bella swallowed hard, her throat burning. "David." He looked at her then, eyes raw and unguarded. "So yeah, I'm cautious. Because I know what it feels like to give everything and end up with nothing." Bella's fingers curled around his, firm and steady. "I'm not them. I know," he said softly. "But when I saw you with Ryan, it felt like history knocking on my door." Bella shook her head, tears pricking her eyes. "David, I would never do that to you. Never." He searched her face, as if looking for cracks in her words. He found none. "I believe you," he whispered. Bella squeezed his hand, voice trembling. "I'm scared too, you know." David blinked. "Scared of what?" "Of losing you," Bella said, tears slipping free. "You're the first person who's ever made me feel safe. Like I can be myself without pretending. And the thought of messing that up terrifies me." David's chest tightened, something breaking open inside him. He reached for her then, pulling her into his arms, holding her like he'd been holding his breath for 2 years. For a long moment, they stayed like that. Two people tangled in fear and hope, clinging to the fragile truth that love wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other, even when the past whispered doubts. David pressed his forehead to hers. "I don't want to lose you." Bella smiled through tears. "Then don't." Later, as they curled up on the couch, the weight between them felt lighter. Not gone, but shared. And sharing made it bearable. For the first time in days, David let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could make this work. Chapter 10. Road trip reset. Bella had suggested the trip on a whim, her voice bright with hope as they sat on the couch Sunday night. "We need a reset," she said. "Fresh air, bad diner coffee, questionable roadside attractions. Just us." David had hesitated because that's what David did, but something in her eyes made him say yes. Maybe it was the way she looked at him like he was worth fighting for. Or maybe he was just tired of overthinking. So Monday morning, they packed a bag, tossed snacks into the back seat, and hit the road. The first hour was bliss. Music playing, sunlight streaming through the windshield, Bella singing off-key to a pop anthem while David pretended not to notice. He even smiled, really smiled, because for the first time in weeks it felt easy. Then came hour 2. "David," Bella said, squinting at the GPS. "Why does it say we're heading toward a goat farm?" David frowned. "Because you typed in the wrong address?" Bella gasped. "Excuse me. I typed in the address you gave me." David glanced at the screen. "Bella, that's not a cabin. That's a petting zoo." Bella groaned, flopping back in her seat. "Okay, fine. Detour. We'll call it an adventure." David smirked. "An adventure with goats." Bella grinned. "Don't knock it till you try it." By hour 3, they were hopelessly lost, arguing over whether the diner they passed was quirky or a health hazard. Bella voted quirky. David voted tetanus shot. They stopped anyway. The diner was a relic from the 70s, complete with peeling vinyl booths and a waitress named Doris who called everyone Han. Bella ordered pancakes the size of hubcaps. David ordered coffee so strong it could strip paint. "This is perfect," Bella said, grinning as syrup dripped down her fork. David raised an eyebrow. "Perfect is a strong word." Bella leaned across the table, eyes sparkling. "Come on, admit it. You're having fun." David hesitated, then smiled. "I am." Bella's grin widened. "See? Road trips fix everything." David chuckled. "Not everything." Bella sobered slightly, her voice softening. But maybe enough. David looked at her then really looked, and felt something shift. Maybe she was right. Maybe enough was all they needed. They reached the cabin by sunset. A small, rustic place tucked between pines, with a porch swing and a view that stole David's breath. Bella twirled in the snow like a kid, laughing as flakes clung to her hair. "Come on," she called, grabbing his hand. "Let's see the stars." They walked to the clearing behind the cabin, boots crunching in fresh snow. The sky stretched wide and endless, scattered with diamonds. Bella tilted her head back, eyes glowing. "Look at that," she whispered. "Makes everything else feel small." David stood beside her, the cold biting his cheeks, the silence wrapping around them like a blanket. He thought about the past, the heartbreaks, the doubts, and then about Bella standing here choosing him. He reached for her hand, fingers intertwining. "Bella." She turned, breath fogging in the air. "Yeah." David swallowed, words heavy but certain. "I want this. All of it." Bella's eyes shimmered. "You mean?" "I mean," David said, voice steady. "I'm done being afraid." Bella smiled, tears glinting like stars. "Good. Because I'm not going anywhere." David pulled her close, their laughter mingling with the quiet night, and kissed her under a sky that promised nothing but possibility. For the first time in a long time, David felt like the future wasn't something to fear. It was something to build, one imperfect, beautiful step at a time. Chapter 11. The big question. The cabin trip had done something David couldn't quite explain. It didn't erase the past or magically solve every doubt, but it shifted the weight, made it lighter, made the future feel less like a cliff and more like a bridge. By the time they returned to the city, Bella was humming along to the radio, tapping the steering wheel like a woman who believed in happy endings. David watched her, a smile tugging at his lips. He wasn't a man who believed in signs, but if he were, this would feel like one. Monday evening found them back at Bella's apartment, unpacking bags and laughing about the goat farm detour. Bella flopped onto the couch, kicking off her boots with a dramatic sigh. "Home sweet chaos," she said, gesturing to the coffee cups still scattered like landmines. David chuckled, hanging his coat. "You really should start a museum for abandoned beverages." Bella grinned. "And you can curate the spice exhibit." David smirked. "Alphabetical order only." She laughed, and for a moment, everything felt easy, like the storm had passed. But David knew there was one thing left to say. One thing he'd been carrying since the clearing under the stars. He sat beside her, heart thudding like a drum. "Bella." She turned, eyebrows lifting. "Yeah." David took a breath, steadying himself. "I've been thinking." Bella's eyes widened. "That sounds serious." "It is," he said, voice calm but sure. "I want us to move in together." Bella blinked, stunned into silence. "You what?" David smiled faintly. "I want to share a home with you. Not just weekends. Not just trial runs. Full-time." Bella stared at him, tears springing to her eyes. "David, are you sure?" He nodded, the weight of doubt finally gone. "I'm sure. I've spent 2 years waiting for the other shoe to drop, and all I've learned is that you're the person I want to come home to. Even if you leave coffee cups everywhere." Bella laughed through tears, throwing her arms around him. "Yes. God, yes." David held her tight, relief flooding his chest like sunlight breaking through clouds. "So, we're doing this?" Bella pulled back, grinning through happy tears. "We're doing this. But fair warning, you're going to hate my closet." David chuckled. "And you're going to hate my label maker." Bella grinned. "We'll survive." David kissed her then, slow, certain, like a man who'd finally stopped running from the future. And for the first time in years, he felt like home wasn't a place. It was a person. It was Bella. Chapter 12. New beginnings. Moving day dawned bright and cold, the kind of winter morning that made you question every life choice involving heavy lifting. David stood on the curb outside Bella's building, hands in his pockets, watching a moving truck that looked far too small for the mountain of boxes Bella had labeled with things like kitchenish and miscellaneous joy. Bella burst through the door, hair in a messy bun, wearing a sweatshirt that read coffee first, adulting later. She grinned like a woman about to conquer the world, or at least her closet. "Ready?" she asked, breath puffing in the frosty air. David eyed the boxes. "Define ready." Bella laughed, tossing him a pair of work gloves. "You'll survive." The first hour was pure chaos. Bella's friends showed up with coffee and unsolicited advice, Marcy leading the charge like a general in combat boots. "Okay, team," Marcy announced, clapping her hands. "Heavy stuff first. And someone please tell me why Bella owns 3 waffle makers." Bella shrugged. "Options." David smirked. "You don't even make waffles." Bella grinned. Yet, by noon, the truck was loaded and David had learned 3 things. 1. Bella's shoe collection could qualify as a small nation. 2. Marcy had zero filter and endless energy. 3. Moving was the ultimate stress test for patience, and his was holding. Barely. At the new apartment, a sunny 2-bedroom with hardwood floors and a balcony, the real fun began. Boxes everywhere. Furniture in pieces. Bella standing in the middle of it all like a queen surveying her kingdom. Where do we start? She asked, hands on hips. David scanned the chaos. Fire hazard prevention? Bella laughed, grabbing a box labeled bathroomish. Come on, Mr. Alphabetical. Let's make this place ours. The afternoon was a blur of comedic disasters. David tried assembling the bed frame while Bella attempted to hang curtains. The bed collapsed twice. Bella drilled a hole in the wrong wall. At one point, David found himself holding a lamp while Bella balanced on a chair, muttering, "This is fine. Everything's fine." They ordered takeout, sitting cross-legged on the floor amid boxes, eating noodles straight from cartons. Bella raised her chopsticks like a toast. "To new beginnings," she said, eyes shining. David clinked his carton against hers. "And surviving IKEA." Bella laughed, leaning against him. "We're good at this." David smiled, wrapping an arm around her. "We are." Later, as they curled up on the couch, finally assembled, miraculously sturdy, David looked around at the mess, the laughter still lingering in the air, and felt something settle deep inside him. Home wasn't neat. It wasn't perfect. It was this chaos and comfort, laughter and love, two people choosing each other every day. Bella rested her head on his shoulder, whispering, "Feels like home already." David kissed her hair, heart full. "It is." Chapter 13. Midnight again, 1 year later. The apartment looked nothing like the chaos of moving day. The boxes were gone. The walls were warm with framed photos, some crooked, because Bella insisted imperfection is charm, and the spice rack was still alphabetized, because David insisted order is peace. They'd learned to compromise. Bella got her coffee cup museum. David got his label maker shrine. Tonight, the place buzzed with laughter and music. They were hosting their first New Year's Eve party together, and Bella was in her element, sparkling dress, playlist cued, champagne chilling. David moved through the crowd with easy confidence, greeting friends, refilling glasses, occasionally rescuing the snack table from Marcy's aggressive cheese board rearrangements. "Remember last year?" Bella whispered when she found him near the balcony, her eyes glinting like the fairy lights strung across the room. David smirked. "The party where I ghosted you?" Bella laughed, swatting his arm. "The party where you almost broke my heart." David leaned in, voice low. "And now?" Bella smiled, slipping her hand into his. "Now you're stuck with me." David kissed her knuckles, warmth flooding his chest. "Best decision I ever made." As midnight approached, the countdown began. Bella pulled David onto the balcony, the winter air crisp against their cheeks. Fireworks bloomed in the sky, painting the night in bursts of color. "Last year," David said softly, "I walked away because I was afraid." Bella squeezed his hand. "And this year," David smiled, eyes steady. "This year, I'm exactly where I want to be." The crowd roared, 3, 1. Happy New Year. Champagne corks popped, laughter spilled into the night, but David barely heard it. He cupped Bella's face, kissed her slow and certain, sealing a promise that didn't need words. When they pulled back, Bella grinned. "So, what's your resolution?" David brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "To keep choosing you. Every day." Bella's eyes shimmered. "Good. Because I'm choosing you too." They stood there, fireworks exploding overhead, laughter echoing from inside. And for the first time in his life, David didn't feel cautious. He felt home.